Welcome back to Rocky Mountain Prepper. I am Bellum. We are continuing our walk through the Bible, in which we have titled A Strong Foundation. I recommend that everyone follow along and don't just let me read it, but read it yourself. Where we last left off, Abraham had just buried his wife. After some rather interesting negotiations with the Hittites, he paid 400 shekels of gold for a large, or of silver, for a large piece of land, and they were just going to give it to him, but he insisted on paying for it. Alright. So we're still in Genesis. We're going to be on Genesis 24. That would be Bereshit 24 in Hebrew. If everyone would find that in their Bibles, and let us begin. 24. And Abraham was old, advanced in years, and Yahweh had blessed Abraham in every way. And Abraham said to the oldest servant of his house, who ruled over all that he had, "Please put your hand under my thigh." In certain ancient cultures, that was actually similar to us placing our hand on a Bible and raising our right hand to swear before God that we're going to keep the oath that we're swearing. It sounds weird, but that's just because cultures have changed. So that I make you swear by Yahweh, the Elohim of the heavens and the Elohim of the earth, that you do not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell, but to go to my land, to my relatives, and take a wife for my son Isaac. Sorry. I'm reading the Hebrew name in here and having to quick translate inside my head. And the servant said to him, "What if the woman refuses to follow me to this land? Do I take your son back to the land from which you came?" And Abraham said to him, "Beware, lest you take my son back there. Yahweh, Elohim of the heavens, who took me from my father's house and from the land of my relatives, and who spoke to me and swore to me, saying, 'To your seed I give this land,' he sends his messenger before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there. And if the woman refuses to follow you, then you shall be released from this oath. Only do not take my son back there." Then the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham, his master, and swore to him concerning this matter. And the servant took 10 of his master's camels and left. All of his master's good gifts were in his hands. And he arose and went to Aram Naharaim, to the city of Nahor. And he made his camels kneel down outside the city by a fountain of water at evening time, the time when the women would go out to draw water. Now, in the morning, the men would actually go out and water the shepherds and their sheep and all of their livestock. And in the evening, the women would go out, usually with some guards nearby to make sure that nothing happened to them. But that was the custom of the time. You didn't just go out at whatever time. You went either in the morning if you're a guy and evening if you were a woman. I'm not sure why they separated it, but they did. And he said, Yahweh, Elohim of my master Abraham, please cause her to meet before me this day and show loving commitment to my master Abraham. See, I am standing here by the fountain of water, and the daughters of the men of the city are coming out to draw water. Now let it be that the young woman to whom I say, please let down your jar to let me drink, and she says, drink, and let me water your camels too. Let her be the one whom you have appointed for your servant Isaac, and let me know by this that you have shown loving commitment to my master. And it came to be, before he had ended speaking, that see, Rebekah, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, came out with her jar on her shoulder. And the young woman was very good looking, a maiden. No man had known her. She was still a virgin. And she went down to the fountain, filled her jar, and came up. And the servant ran to meet her and said, please, let me drink a little water from your jar. And she said, drink, my master. And she hurried and let down her jar to her hand and gave him a drink. When she had finished giving a drink, she said, let me draw water for your camels too, until they have finished drinking. And she hurried and emptied her jar into the trough and ran back to the fountain to draw water, and drew for all his camels. And watching her, the man remained silent, in order to know whether Yahweh had prospered his way or not. And it came to be, when the camels had finished drinking, that the man took a gold nose ring weighing half a shekel, and 2 bracelets for her wrist weighing 10 shekels of gold. Very expensive gifts, even today. And said, whose daughter are you? Please inform me. Is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night? And she said to him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, Milcah's son, whom she bore to Nahor. And she said to him, we have both straw and fodder enough, and room to spend the night. And the man bowed down his head and worshipped Yahweh. And he said, blessed be Yahweh, Elohim of my master Abraham, who has not forsaken his loving commitment and his truth towards my master. As for me, being on the way, Yahweh led me to the house of my master's brothers. Then the young woman ran and informed those of her mother's house these matters. And Rebekah had a brother whose name was Laban. And Laban ran out to the man, to the fountain. And it came to be, when he saw the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrist, and when he heard the words of his sister Rebekah saying, "Thus the man spoke to me," that he went to the man and saw him standing by the camels at the fountain, and he said, "Come in, O blessed of Yahweh. Why do you stand outside? I myself have prepared the house and a place for the camels." So the man came into the house while he unloaded the camels and provided straw and fodder for the camels and water to wash his feet and the feet of the men who were with him, and set food before him to eat. But he said, "Let me not eat until I have spoken my word." And he said, "Speak on." And he said, "I am Abraham's servant, and Yahweh has blessed my master exceedingly, and he has become great, and he has given him flocks and herds, and silver and gold, and male and female servants, and camels and donkeys. And Sarah, my master's wife, bore a son to my master when she was old, and he gave him and he has given him all that he has. And my master made me swear, saying, Do not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I dwell, but to go to my father's house, and to my relatives, and take a wife for my son." And he said to my master, "What if the woman does..." And I said to my master, "What if the woman does not follow me?" But he said to me, "Yahweh, before whom I walk, sends his messenger with you, and shall prosper your way, and you shall take a wife for my son from my relatives, and from my father's house. Then when you go to my relatives, you are to be released from this oath, and if they do not give her to you, then you are released from my oath." And this day I came to the fountain, and said, "Yahweh, Elohim of my master Abraham, please, if you are prospering the way in which I am going, see, I am standing by the fountain of water, and when the young woman comes out to draw water, and I say to her, 'Please give me a little water from your jar to drink,' and she says to me, 'Drink, and let me draw for your camels too,' let her be the woman whom Yahweh has appointed for my master's son." And I had not yet ended speaking in my heart when Rebekah was coming out with her jar on her shoulder, and she went down to the fountain and drew water. And I said to her, "Please let me drink." And she hurried and let her jar down from her shoulder and said, "Drink, and let me water your camels too." So I drank, and she watered the camels too. And I asked her and said, "Whose daughter are you?" And she said, "The daughter of Bethuel, Naor's son, whom Milcah bore to him. Then I put the nose ring on her nose and the bracelets on her wrist. And I bowed my head and worshipped Yahweh, and blessed Yahweh, Elohim of my master Abraham, who led me in the true way to take the daughter of my master's brother for his son. And now, if you are going to show loving commitment and truth to my master, let me know, and if not, let me know, so that I turn the right or to the left. And Laban answered Bethuel too, so both of these people, and said, the master comes from Yahweh. We are not able to speak to you either evil or good. See, Rebekah is before you. Take her and go, and let her be your master's son's wife, as Yahweh has spoken. And it came to be, when Abraham's servant heard their words, that he bowed himself toward the earth before Yahweh. And the servant brought out ornaments of silver and ornaments of gold and garments, and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave costly gifts to her brother and to her mother. That would just basically be a dowry. He was offering a dowry to her. And he and the men who were with him ate and drank and spent the night. Then they rose in the morning and said, let us go to my master. But her brother and her mother said, let the young woman stay with us a few days, at least 10, and then you go. And he said to them, do not delay me, since Yahweh has prospered my way. Let me go, so that I go to my master. And they said, let us call the young woman and ask her. So they called Rebekah and said to her, are you going with this man? And she said, shall I go? So they let go Rebekah, their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant, and his men. And they blessed Rebekah and said to her, let our sister become the mother of thousands of 10,000s, and let your seed possess the gates of those who hate them. And Rebekah and her young women arose, and they rode on the camels and followed the men. So the servant took Rebekah and left. And Isaac came from the way of Beer-Lahai Roi, for he dwelled in the south. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field in the evening, and he lifted his eyes and looked, and saw the camels coming. And Rebekah lifted her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she dismounted from her camel. And she said to the servant, who is this man walking in the field to meet us? And the servant said, this is my master. So she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all the matters he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent. And he took Rebekah, and she became his wife. And he loved her. Thus Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. All right. Genesis 25. And Abraham took another wife, whose name was Keturah, and she bore him Zimram, Joshtan, and Midian. And Isbac and Shura. And Isaac, oh wait, and sorry. And Joktan brought forth Sheba and Dedan, and the sons of Dedan were Ashram and Lethsam and Leuam. And the sons of Midian were Ephrath, and Epher, and Hanok, and Abada, and Eldaah. All these were children of Kurdish. Now Abraham gave all he had to Isaac, but to the sons of the concubines whom Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts while he was still living, and sent them away from his son Isaac east toward the land of the east. And these were all the years of Abraham's life, which he had lived, 175 years. And Abraham breathed his last, and died in a good old age, aged and satisfied, and was gathered to his people. So see, even as he's before he dies, he takes care of all of his children, making sure they're all cared for and well off, even though he's giving the vast majority to his son Isaac. And his sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the field of Ephron's son of Zoar the Hittite, the field which Abraham purchased from the sons of Heth, where Abraham was buried with Sarah his wife. And it came to be after the death of Abraham that Elohim blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt at Beer Roi, and this is the genealogy of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Mitzrayite Egyptian. Sarah, from whom Hagar the Mitzrayite, Sarah's female servant, bore to Abraham. And these were the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebaioth, then Kedar and Abimelech, and Mizbam, and Mishma, and Dama, and Massa, and Hedar, and Tema, Juttar, Naphish, and Kedemar. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by their towns and their settlements. 12 chiefs according to their tribes. So if you remember, Abraham was promised to be the father of many nations. And here it shows he is fathering many nations. In fact, all the issues in the Middle East right now seem to be a ancient family squabble between all the children of Abraham. It's quite sad if you think about it. We should be working together, not squabbling like spoiled children. Okay. And these were their years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years, and he breathed his last and died and was gathered to his people. And they dwelt from Havilah as far as Shur, which is east of Mitzrayim, as you go towards Ashur. He settled before all his brothers. And this is the genealogy of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham brought forth Isaac. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah as his wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean of Padam Aram, the sister of Laban Laban the Aramean. And Isaac prayed to Yahweh for his wife, because she was barren. And Yahweh answered his prayers, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And within her the children struggled together. And she said, "Is it all right? Why am I this way?" So she asked Yahweh. Back before ultrasounds, they wouldn't have known that there were twins. So she would have been very concerned feeling them fighting with each other. I mean, I know when I was married, having when my daughter was not yet born, my wife used to complain all the time about getting kicked. I can only imagine how bad it would have been with twins. And Yahweh said to her, "2 nations are in your womb, and 2 people shall be separated from your body. And 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older serve the younger." And when the days were fulfilled for her to give birth, and see, twins were in her womb. And after his brother came out with his hand holding on to Esau's heel, so he was called Jacob. And Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. And the boys grew up And Esau became a man knowing how to hunt, a man of the field, while Jacob was a complete man dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his wild game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob cooked stew and saw Esau come in from the field, and he was wary. And Esau said to Jacob, "Please feed me with that same red stew, for I am weary." That is why his name was called Edom. And Jacob said, "Sell me your birthright today." And Esau said, "Look, I'm going to die, so why should I have a birthright?" That had better be some damn good stew. Then Jacob said, "Swear to me today," and swear to him, and swear to me today, and he swore to him, and sold his birthright to Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau bread and stew of lentils, and he ate and drank, and rose up and left. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Alright, we're going to leave off there today. We'll pick back up next time with chapter 26. Thank you all for joining me today. As always, good luck, and God bless all.